you need to start off in order to present a culture by the surface, by showing the showcase. Of course, I'm going to be talking about Paris, and I'm not going to be showing the Eiffel Tower. It makes sense, yes, and I'm going to be talking about the cappuccinos and the French cuisine, and all things that have to do with, let's say, the what makes the French trademarks, let's say, more or less. However, when we dive into the deep culture, when we deepen a bit and we get a bit more of the sensation that comes along, apart from the showcase, apart from what it is that is there projected in like in a shop, in a window shopping, we are triggered, and this is the triggering part, to get students to be able to come and make a connection with what else belies is there apart from the surface, what else lies there down there in the deep culture. Of course, like I mentioned before, we're English teachers, and it depends on the level of that you can interact with your students. I mean, you cannot expect from A-level students to start getting into a lot of the talks that have to do with deep culture, but there are, of course, some parts of deep culture that students can be associated with and can discuss. And this is something interesting that I found, because this actually shows that culture is not a static entity, but it goes through transformations. Because culture, ideology, and power constantly change. They are produced, reproduced, and changed. And this also shows how the people, the inhabitants' perception, their identities, their perceptions evolve based on the way that, based on these transitions that culture goes through, and how it is in accordance with our times. Yes, bullfighting, for example, is a traditional festival that would take place in the past and has a long history of tradition in Spain. However, lately, over the last couple of years, there are a lot of people who are Spanish, and they object to the severity that comes along with this tradition. Wonderful to some, it is mainly associated with cruelty. So this is a wonderful way of trying to make a connection with what is the perception, the current idea of people regarding some of the traditionals. And this is how we actually delve into what is the current approach, the current perception of cultures. Question now. I mean, we're English teachers, right? Okay, we need to prepare our lesson and everything. How do we keep up with these changes? Of course, it's not a matter of really having to, I mean, like as teachers, I know we've got so many different assignments, we've got so much work to do. So trying uh, to add some extra info that is on the spot and be able to keep up with the current affairs and what is going on right now in that part of the world, or that part of that country that we are going to be talking about, is extra work for us, but it's always very intriguing, because this is a connection of proving to what extent the info that you are sharing with your students at that time has this element of being on the spot and contemporary. This is what makes the lesson contemporary, by bringing in examples that are happening right now. So we keep up with these changes by conducting research based on recent sources, and this can be something very simple, like a very brief YouTube video, if you're going to be focusing on a specific culture, or an article that you have read, or even just getting them to make a connection with an image and trying to tell them, now, how does this it can be even a contradicting image to a traditional characteristic of that country that you are projecting. So it can have many different ways, or through collaboration and a sharing of experiences. Maybe you have been to that country. So apart from what is included in the book and how it emphasizes on presenting, familiarizing students with that culture, how it contributes, how you can have your own idea, your own sharing of experience based on your personal trip, or maybe some of your students. One of your students have been to to that country. It's a wonderful way to get that student to share some of the info on that, or even questioning and making comparisons with a different country that you have read about, or your own country, without, of course, being judgmental about any country. This is something that I think as English teachers, we should have, let's say, a United Nations sort of role. If you are to ask me, and even better, because it's much more altruistic as English teachers, of course, our role, and try not to be judgmental, of course, about any other country, but making comparisons, and that adding questioning is what actually makes the lesson very much contemporary. And guess what? This is what we have been blathering all along about regarding the 21st century skills and how we can implement them in the lesson. Yes, if we are to think about cultural and civic literacy is one of the foundational literacies, when we employ research that has been conducted on recent sources, collaboration based on the sharing of experiences or on the research that has taken place, and the questioning and making comparisons, we filter that introduction to the specific culture, and we develop character qualities, because in this way we are actually helping students to appreciate different cultures, learn about different cultures, and of course sprout curiosity and take initiative to learn more about different cultures, depending on how we want to exploit the lesson, for sure. So how do we incorporate culture in language instruction? Well, more or less, it starts from us, like I mentioned in the previous slide. Based on research, we as teachers need to lead this and conduct our own research, and then through this way we're going to be able to make it a bit more intriguing for our students as well to do their own research as well. So based on our research, and our research can be done through all these wonderful we have access, especially right now with the web, to all these wonderful articles online, and of course videos that we can base our research on. And of course it's got to be something brief in order to initiate a discussion on something which is interesting. Cultural connections. Now, yes, how can we incorporate culture in language instruction? Like I mentioned before, when we are introducing a lesson, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a labeled as a culture page lesson, we might need to think of it in terms of themes. And why not? In order to make it a bit more intriguing, brainstorm some cultural points that tie into these themes. So let's say, for example, you're having a module that is talking about, that is mainly focusing on the environment, right? Okay, instead of giving some examples about the environment that come about the environment that come from your country, there could be a connection about what is happening, for example, in Costa Rica, and bring an article or show a very brief video about Costa Rica, a country known for its environmentally friendly practices and ecotourism. A great way to make comparisons and bring it in, and bring, let's say, a cultural connection, make a cultural connection into a lesson that is not necessarily titled as a culture page. So this is another way of bringing into the ELT classroom cultural connection. Of course, this can be based on, like we mentioned before, through YouTube videos, Pinterest images, very attractive images, and capturing a very tempting tempting to the eye for students, or of course take advantage of some of the touristic, let's say every government has their own touristic campaign, and seek there for some information regarding their modern approach to tourism. Making cultural comparisons and bringing that into the subject is always very stimulating. Again, not being judgmental, but making comparisons through subjects like this one, for example. This is a text that I've taken from one of our course books, which is based on summer jobs for teens. Now we see two teenagers that are based in specific parts of the world, coming from specific countries. A wonderful way is to try to make a connection with your country, for example. How do teens or what jobs, what summer jobs do teens in your country are occupied in during the summer period? Or let's say, for example, what are the differences regarding the mentality, regarding the age that usually these students start? How is it different? How many are the similarities regarding the summer jobs for teens? Or a topic like Girl Saves Dolphins, Dolphins to the Rescue. So this is an article coming from action that is taking place in order to protect animals in danger. What is it that students are doing in your country? Are there any organizations that actually help? What is it that we can do in order to, get some ideas from this specific school that is located in a different part of the world in order to start, being a bit more interested in caring for animals? There are so many ways that we can make cultural connections.